The honourable member for Laurentide-Labelle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the member believes the rules should be changed, why does he believe the ethically challenged government that recently left office did nothing substantial to change those rules? And why, Mr. Speaker, is his party putting forward a frivolous motion that does not make a substantial change now, rather than making solid and concrete proposals? Mr. Speaker, is it because the member is afraid that clearer rules would require us to, require the preceding leader of his party to reveal who bankrolled his leadership campaigns to the tune of $2 million? Or is it just that more conservatives will wind up in leg irons? Or maybe, Mr. Speaker, it is just because the member knows that nothing wrong actually took place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Red Deer-Lacombe.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure if he goes and asks his former colleague or friend Joe Fontana all about this, he'll have the answer that he's looking for. Look, we can cast aspersions here all day long. If there is going to be legislation coming forward that actually meets the test that's laid out in the open and accountable government document that the Prime Minister has signed, I will gladly, in my capacity as chair of the Ethics Committee, shepherd that legislation through post-haste to make sure that the Ethics Commissioner, the bar and the legislation and the code can be raised to a much higher standard than it is right now. Instead, we have other issues being brought forward by this Liberal government that have absolutely nothing to do with raising that bar. It's very, very unfortunate. In fact, it looks like everybody that did anything favorably, whether they had union workers show up at campaigns or anybody that's connected to various other parts of the Canadian economy that are well-connected Liberals, seem to be the target of what's available in the budget, and so far it's just the history book on the shelf repeating itself all over again. If I were Justice Gomery, I'd make sure I'd publish my number, because it looks like we're going to need him again.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Mr. Speaker, one of the principles in the justice system is that justice must be done and justice must appear to be done. And yet, here we have a bunch of lawyers getting together, paying $500 to talk to the Justice Minister. Is it possible that some of those lawyers are looking for appointments? They're not supposed to lobby a Justice Minister or a member of government to become a judge. But in my opinion, and I'd like to hear what the members' comments on that, it puts the whole justice system into disrepute by saying, okay, lawyers, you just pay $500, we'll give you access to meet the Justice Minister and tell the Justice Minister how wonderful you are and possibly what a great judge you'd make.
Honourable member for Red Deer-Lacombe.
So, Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague from Dufferin-Caledon for his question. He's a very knowledgeable member in the House here. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and I know exactly what he's getting at with this. Look, the reality is, at that $500 a plate fundraiser, there was somebody from Tories who deregistered the day before the fundraiser as a lobbyist so that they wouldn't have to register the meeting. The $500 pay-to-play access to the Justice Minister wouldn't actually have to be recorded in the federal lobbyist register. So these are just ways that well-connected Liberals can continue to hide what they're actually doing from Canadians. So, like I say, Mr. Speaker, this is how this is going down. This is a government that's actually asking for forgiveness, not asking for permission. We know that the story broke on I believe it was April 5th in CBC that this fundraiser was going on. On April 7th, the Ethics Commissioner's office said that they received a request the previous day, which is April 6th. So the timeline clearly indicates the Liberal Party had no intention of ever even asking the Ethics Commissioner whether or not this private dinner with Tories LLP was going to meet an ethical bar or not. They simply asked the Ethics Commissioner once the story broke, and then they were scrambling, looking for cover. And that's all they're trying to do. They're hiding behind a very low bar right now when they should be trying to raise the standard according to what their Prime Minister's document is, one that they say is frivolous to debate.